Good morning and welcome. My name is Peter Fishman, and I'm the child of a Holocaust survivor, Tootie Fishman, who's here today. I'm also president of Voices of Hope, an organization dedicated to Holocaust and genocide education. Thank you for joining us today at the Mandel JCC's Descendants of the Shoah Speak Up Showcase. Preparing for the next generations to use their own voices to shape the future has always been a goal of Voices of Hope. And standing here today at the 5th Speak Up is a true accomplishment and honor. Please join me in welcoming Matt and Alicia Dix.
For the past 4 weeks, this incredible group of children and grandchildren of survivors has been working on finding and crafting their stories. They participated in a workshop that was led by Matt, who will also tell a story today about his experience with Voices of Hope. And they've been working on telling stories that include part, but not all, of their parent or grandparent stories, because the task of telling the entire thing is too daunting a job. And so they've been working on choosing pieces to embed in their own stories about their own experience. It's kind of like history embedded in personal narrative. Before our showcase today, I asked each of our storytellers to answer the following question. You guys can think about this question too, so you can discuss later on. The question is, if you could choose any Jewish person from history or from the present to be your imaginary friend, who would you choose and why? So Garrett chose Adam Sandler, circa 1995, the 1995 Adam Sandler, when he wrote the Hanukkah song. He said it's because he gave us a modern holiday song, and every young Jewish kid wanted a cool holiday song to sing. So, don't come at Garrett with Dreidel Dreidel. He wants the Hanukkah song. I feel like that would be a lot of Hanukkah song happening in your life if Adam Sandler was your imaginary friend. But I think it's a great choice. Please welcome Garrett Fishman.
It's December 2018, and my wife and I are with our friends traveling to New Orleans for New Year's. We leave the airport, we get into a Dodge Dart, all 5 of us. All of our luggage is on our laps, and we put in the address of our Airbnb into the navigation and go to the house. Slowly, the area starts to get a little sketchy, and we're like, maybe it'll get better, and suddenly it goes, your destination's on the left. We look around, there's boarded up houses, and there's our Airbnb right in the middle of them all. The trip ended up being great. We went on food tours, we went all over the French Quarter. It was really an awesome time. But we always had to go back to this house where we didn't really want to sit in the front room because we didn't know what was going to happen outside the house. And somewhere along the trip, my wife decided to text our best friends at home our address, and that there was a gang that ran our street, which she didn't share with anyone on the trip after Googling the street that we were on, because during Hurricane Katrina, one of the gangs from the 9th Ward decided to relocate to this area. We didn't know that at the time. We booked the Airbnb. So here we are, we come home, must have been aggravated about something, and I go online and I go on to Airbnb and I leave a review. I don't leave a lot of reviews, but this review was nasty. It wasn't good. And as soon as I hit the submit button and it posted online, I go, maybe I should have changed that and wrote that a little differently. Well, you can't change an Airbnb review. Can't delete it, can't change it, can't edit it, can't even comment on it, an addendum of what you feel like it maybe should have said. I should have known better because I'm the great-grandson of Opie. In 1944, my great-grandmother and my grandmother and her brother Robbie and my great-grandfather were in Theresienstadt. My great-grandfather Opie worked in the root cellar sorting the rotten vegetables from the fresh ones. The Nazis got the fresh ones, the Jews got the rotten ones. He would wear baggy ski pants because I assume it was cold in the root cellar, and he would sort the vegetables. And he would sneak the vegetables into his snow pants and bring extra rations of vegetables back to the family to cook so they could have extra food. I think they knew they were lucky, but maybe didn't realize how lucky they were to get these extra rations of food at this time. And that's the way my grandmother always told us the story. She always remembered this. In November of 2016, my grandmother was on a trip to Germany, visiting with an old friend. They were reminiscing about different stories and old times and learning new stories, and one of the stories she learned was that Opie was an international businessman that traded precious metals. He would travel all over the world. He always tipped really well everywhere he went. He took care of everyone that treated him well because he wanted to spread whatever kindness and wealth that he could, because that's the man who he was. One of his favorite places to go was Hotel Bristol. And he especially liked one head waiter at Hotel Bristol that he always tipped very well. It was then that we learned that the reason my family got the extra rations of food was because the SS officer that was looking over and guarding in the root cellar, looking over my grandfather while he sorted the roots, was none other than the head waiter at Hotel Bristol. I can only assume that when my great-grandfather Opie was traveling, doing business, the political climate couldn't have been great. He knew that the war was happening, he knew that things weren't going well, but he never thought that it would get all the way to Holland and to Amsterdam where they lived. He still treated Germans with respect. He still tipped well when he went out to restaurants. He didn't have any prejudice against anyone. When I learned this story, it really taught me that it's important not to treat people differently, because you never know what they're going through. Just because you think you know what they're going through doesn't make it okay for you to treat them a certain way. You have to treat everyone with respect, because you never know who they are. And I think that's what I will share with my children one day, because this story, for whatever reason, out of all the stories, had the biggest impact on me. Thank you.
Wonderful job, Garrett. Thank you. Wasn't that such a moment? I heard all you guys were, yeah. There are so many incredible moments in stories like this. And I always, no matter how many times I hear these stories, I feel like there's so much perspective to consider and think about and take forward, and that story definitely has a lot to think about. So thank you, Garrett. Also, sender's remorse is a definite thing, for real.